Be me. 34 years old and haven't been approached by a man in over 2 years. Not at bars, not at coffee shops, not at the gym, not anywhere. I see men approach other women all the time in public constantly, but they walk right past me like I am invisible or not even there. Tell myself it is because I am intimidating to weak men around me. I have a master's degree and make 6 figures at my corporate job. Dress well and stay in shape and consider myself above average looking. Clearly men are just scared of successful women who have their shit together. My friends all agree with me every time I bring this up to them. They say men are threatened by powerful women who do not need them. Say, I should be proud that I scare off the ones who cannot handle me. We all laugh about it, but honestly it is starting to really bother me. Went to a networking event last week for young professionals in my city. Room full of attractive, successful people mingling and having a good time. I stood near the bar for 45 minutes and not one man came to talk. Watched at least 6 guys approach other women in that same time period. One of them approached a girl who was honestly less attractive than me. She was wearing a simple dress and laughing loudly with her friend group. He walked right up to her and started talking, and she smiled at him. Within 10 minutes, they were exchanging numbers, and she looked so happy. Meanwhile, I am standing there in my designer blazer, looking professional, checking my phone occasionally so I do not look awkward standing alone, arms crossed watching everyone else connect, while I stay completely isolated, finally leave early feeling frustrated and confused about what is wrong with me. My company hires this new guy named Terrence in the department next to mine. He is late 30s and seems like a straight shooter who says what he thinks, not afraid to give honest feedback in meetings even when people do not like it. We end up working on a project together and actually get along pretty well. One day we are grabbing lunch in the cafeteria, talking about random stuff. Somehow, the topic of dating comes up, and I start venting about my situation. Tell him how I never get approached and how men seem intimidated by me. Say it is frustrating being a successful woman in the dating market today. He gets this look on his face like he wants to say something, but hesitates. I tell him to just say whatever he is thinking, because I can handle it. He puts down his fork and says, "Okay, but you asked for this honestly." Says he does not think intimidation is the reason men do not approach me. Ask him what he thinks the real reason is then, if not intimidation. He takes a breath and says honestly, "I think it is your energy and vibe." Says the first time he saw me in the office, he thought I looked angry, like I was ready to bite someone's head off if they said the wrong thing. I immediately get defensive and say, "That is just my resting face, probably." He shakes his head and says, "It is not just your face, it is everything. The way I stand with arms crossed and the way I scan rooms judgmentally. The way I barely smile and the way I seem annoyed by everyone around me." Says he has watched me at company events and happy hours over the past months. I never look approachable or like I want anyone to come talk to me. Other women are laughing and open and seem like they would welcome conversation. I look like I am waiting for someone to bother me so I can shut them down. Tell him that I just have high standards and do not waste time on losers. He laughs and says, "I have already decided every man is a loser before meeting them." Says that energy radiates off me and men can feel it from across the room. Why would any guy approach someone who clearly thinks he is beneath her already? That stings, but I push back and say, maybe I am just confident in myself. He says there is a huge difference between confidence and contempt for others. Confident women still smile and seem warm and open to people around them. What I project is not confidence, it is hostility. Disguised as having standards, asks me to think about the last time I genuinely smiled at a stranger. Not a polite fake smile, but a real warm smile at someone I did not know. I cannot remember a single time honestly, which surprises me when I think about it. He says exactly, and that is why nobody approaches you in public at all. He continues and says he has heard me talk about men in the office before. The way I describe guys on dating apps or talk about my past experiences. It is always negative and critical, and like all men, are the enemy basically. Says if he was single and heard me talk like that, he would avoid me too. Says men want to feel like a woman actually likes men as a gender, not like she is suspicious of them and looking for reasons to reject them. Says I give off the energy that every man is guilty until proven innocent, and most guys are not going to try that hard just to prove themselves to me. Ask him what the women who do get approached are doing differently then. He says they look happy and warm, and like they would enjoy a conversation. They smile at people and make eye contact and seem open to connection. They do not look like they are grading everyone and finding them all lacking, says the girl at the networking event who got approached immediately. She was probably less accomplished than me, and maybe less attractive even, but she was laughing and smiling and seemed like fun to be around, honestly. Guys approached her because she looked like she would be pleasant to talk to. Meanwhile, I was standing there with arms crossed looking around judgmentally, giving off energy that said, "Do not even think about talking to me right now." Any guy who looked my way probably saw that and decided not to bother. Not because he was intimidated, but because I looked unpleasant to interact with. Sit there feeling like I have been slapped across the face by his words. Never thought about how I might be coming across to people around me. Always assumed I was just confident, and men were too weak to handle it. Never considered that I was actually pushing everyone away with my energy. He says he is not trying to be mean, but I did ask for honesty. Says he actually thinks I am smart and interesting once you get to know me. But most people are never going to get past that initial wall I put up. The wall that says, "Stay away from me, or I will judge you harshly." Ask him why he bothered getting to know me then, if I seem so unapproachable. He laughs and says, "Because we had to work together, so we had no choice." Says once he got past the initial coldness, I was actually a good coworker, but a random guy at a bar does not have that forced interaction with me. He also brings up something else that I do not want to hear honestly. Says the way I talk about other women is really off-putting too. I roll my eyes when attractive women get attention from men at events. Make comments about them being pick-me girls or using their looks for validation. Says he has heard me say stuff like that at happy hours before. Other people have heard it too, and it makes me seem bitter and jealous. Says women who are happy with themselves do not tear other women down. The fact that I do it shows I am insecure about my own dating failures. That one really hurts because I know he is right about it deep down. I do judge other women who get male attention, and I do resent them. Tell myself they are just playing dumb or using feminine tricks to attract men. Never considered that maybe they are just genuinely pleasant to be around. Spend the rest of the day thinking about everything Terrence said to me. Start paying attention to my body language and my facial expressions more. Notice that I do stand with arms crossed almost all the time unconsciously. Notice that I rarely smile at anyone, unless I am forced to professionally. Notice that when I see an attractive man, my first thought is to judge him, wonder what is wrong with him, or what red flags I will find eventually. Never once think about what I could offer him, or why he would want me. Just immediately start looking for reasons to disqualify him in my head. Go to a bar with a friend that weekend and try to pay attention. Watch the women who get approached versus the women who get ignored there. The ones getting approached are not necessarily the hottest or youngest ones. They are the ones smiling and laughing and seeming like they are having fun. Watch one girl who is maybe a 6 out of 10 get approached twice in an hour. She is not doing anything special, just enjoying herself with her friends. She makes eye contact with guys and smiles when they look at her. She looks open and warm and like she would welcome a conversation. Meanwhile, the hottest girl in the bar is standing alone looking at her phone. She has a look on her face like she is annoyed to even be there. No one approaches her all night, even though she is objectively gorgeous. Realize that could be me if I look like that on any given night. Start to understand what Terrence was trying to explain to me at lunch. It is not about looks or success or accomplishments at all, really. It is about the energy you put out and whether you seem approachable. Men go where they feel welcome, not where they will be judged harshly. Try an experiment and actually smile at the next guy who looks at me. He looks surprised, but smiles back and holds my eye contact for a second. Nothing happens from it, but it is the first positive interaction in months. Realize that one small smile opened a door that my scowl kept closed. Next few weeks, I really focus on changing my energy in public spaces. Start smiling more and uncrossing my arms and trying to look relaxed. Make eye contact with people and try to seem open to conversation generally. It feels fake at first, like I am pretending to be someone I am not. But slowly I notice people starting to respond to me differently now. Strangers say hi to me on the street, which never happened before, honestly. The barista at my coffee shop starts making small talk with me now. Coworkers seem more relaxed around me, like they are not walking on eggshells. At a happy hour a few weeks later, a guy from another department approaches me. He says he has seen me around, but I always seemed too busy to talk before. Admits he was a little nervous to come over because I seemed intense always, but tonight I look more relaxed. So he decided to take a chance finally. We end up talking for an hour, and he asked for my number at the end. Nothing serious comes from it, but it proves that Terrence was completely right. The only thing that changed was my energy, and suddenly men started approaching. I was never too intimidating. I was just too unpleasant to be around. Run into Terrence at work the next week and tell him what happened. He smiles and says he's glad I actually listened, instead of getting defensive. Says most people just argue when they get feedback they do not like hearing. The fact that I actually tried to change shows more than most people do. Tell him it is still hard because my default mode is defensive and closed off. He says that makes sense because it is probably a protection mechanism, honestly. I built walls so high that nobody could hurt me or disappoint me. But those same walls kept out anyone who might have actually cared about me. Ask him where he thinks this comes from, because I genuinely want to understand. He says he is not a therapist, so he cannot say for sure about it. But maybe I decided somewhere along the way that men were the enemy, and everything since then has been about protecting myself from that enemy constantly. Think about my past and realize he might be onto something there, honestly. My dad left when I was young, and my mom always talked badly about men. Grew up hearing that men were not to be trusted and would always disappoint. Carried that into my adult life and made every man pay for what my dad did. All my feminist beliefs about men being trash and not needing them for anything. Maybe it was not really about empowerment. It was about protecting myself from pain. If I reject them before they can reject me, then I never have to be vulnerable. But that also means I never get to experience real connection with anyone. Start going to therapy to work through these patterns and where they come from. Therapist helps me see that my hostility toward men is really fear of abandonment. I push them away before they can leave me like my dad did years ago. My whole personality around men has been a defense mechanism this entire time. It takes months of work, but I slowly start to genuinely change my approach. Not just forcing smiles, but actually examining why I judged men so harshly before. Learning to give people a chance before deciding they are going to hurt me. Practicing vulnerability, even though it terrifies me every single time I try. A year later, my dating life is completely different than it was before. I get approached regularly now because I actually seem like a pleasant person. Not because I changed my looks or lowered my standards or anything like that. Just because I stopped treating every man like he was already guilty of something. Dating a guy now who I met at a bookstore of all random places. He approached me because I smiled at him when we reached for the same book. Told me later he almost did not come over, but my smile made him feel welcome. That one smile opened the door that my old self would have kept locked forever. He is kind and funny and treats me really well in the relationship. Not because he is afraid of me, but because I make him feel valued and appreciated. We actually like each other instead of constantly testing and judging each other. Feels like what a relationship is supposed to feel like for the first time. Think back to all the years I spent blaming men for not approaching me. All the times I told myself and my friends that I was just too intimidating, when really I was too hostile and judgmental and unpleasant to be around. I was not scaring off weak men. I was driving away anyone with self-respect. Terrence gave me a gift that day in the cafeteria with his honesty. He told me what nobody else had the courage to tell me directly before. Not to hurt me, but because I actually asked and he respected me enough. Sometimes the truth feels like an attack, but it is really an act of care. Could have gotten defensive and written him off like I did with everyone else. Could have told myself he was just another man who could not handle me, but something made me actually listen and consider that maybe he had a point. That one decision to listen instead of defend changed my entire life, honestly. Not every man who does not approach you is intimidated by your success. Sometimes he just does not want to deal with someone who seems miserable. Not every woman who gets approached is using tricks or playing dumb for men. Sometimes she is just genuinely happy and warm and pleasant to be around. I spent years believing the wrong story about why I was alone and single. The story that made me the victim and men the villains in every situation. Turns out I was the one creating my own loneliness with my energy and attitude. I was the villain in my own story, and I did not even realize it. Sometimes you need someone brave enough to tell you what you do not want to hear. Sometimes that person is not a friend who is afraid to hurt your feelings. Sometimes it is a coworker who barely knows you but sees you clearly anyway. And sometimes being completely defeated is exactly what you need to finally win.